over our servicemen and women as they protect our freedom and our safety forces as they protect our city. For this we pray. Amen.
Join me in the salute to our flag. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have roll call.
Kelly.
Here.
May.
Here.
Morrow.
Here.
Cole. Here. Heffley.
Here.
Henry.
Here.
Johnson.
Here. Okay, at this time, do I turn it over to you or?
Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate council holding this special session this evening. Each of you in your folders should have received hard copies of tentative agreements with both our firefighters and AFSCME bargaining units. Did everybody get those copies? Yes, sir. Okay. Let me first talk a little bit about the process that we went through to get these contracts. Last week, Keith presented to council information regarding our outside legal fees for collective bargaining and labor issues and things like that we had in 2010, which was down approximately $55,000 from the previous year. And I mentioned a little bit about my efforts to try to help keep those costs down. Starting last September, we offered to sit down with bargaining units without our labor attorney present, without their union reps present, employees, and myself and Doug Heffley, Third Ward councilman, to sit down to see if we could structure together our contracts for the next 3 years. And what you have in regards to the firefighters and the AFSCME bargaining units are a result of those efforts. And I first of all want to thank the employees from both of those bargaining units that took part in this. On the AFSCME side, you had Mike Hammond, Jack Brown, and Amanda Clark. On the fire side, you had Captains Earl Miller and Warren McCord, and Lieutenant Ralph Swick. We spent a lot of time together talking about various issues, some of them involving the contract and some of them not. And it was, I think, a great process. I think it was a great process for me to go through. I was able to get a deeper understanding of what our employees in the AFSCME and fire bargaining units think, what they face, and who they are. And I think that that will only stand to benefit me as I continue in this job as mayor. Let me just briefly go over with you some of the highlights of the things that are outlined in this contract, or in these contracts. Let's start on the AFSCME side. Dan Stofan, who's an employee at the wastewater plant, he's a lab technician. His title was not listed among the recognized titles in the bargaining unit, and that was something that was added. This is on page 2, and also his title, you'll see, has been added in regards to the different pay grades. In Article 7, which begins on page 10, there was a clause that you'll see on page 11 that we inserted, just saying that if we're going to insert into an employee's personnel file information of a disciplinary nature, that either that employee will acknowledge in writing that they've seen that, or a member of that of their bargaining unit will. That's, in my view, pretty simple. If you have something that you're disciplining an employee on, the employee needs to know what they're being disciplined for so that they can try to take steps to improve. Article 30. Page 64 is where it begins. This is insurance article. What we have done is we have capped at today's costs what the employees pay for insurance. Article 33, which begins on page, I think it's 70. 68, is it? No. I'm sorry. Article 34. Can't read my Roman numerals. Starts on page 69. This is the article, of course, that outlines wages for the next 3 years. In short, what the tentative agreement outlines is that for the first year of the agreement, there will be a 0% salary increase. For the second year of the agreement, there will be a 1% increase. And for the third year of the agreement, there would be 2%. Article 36, which deals with comp time. The comp time that would be allowed to accumulate would go from 90 to 120 hours. Comp time is something that doesn't have to be agreed to by the city. We can choose to pay overtime if we choose. Article 39 increases personal days from 3 to 4. And then when you look toward the end, there's a couple things I want to highlight for you. We have our pay scale, which starts on page 89, and it would be the scale used for the next 3 years of the contract. On page 90, something that will need to be added. In F, we have outlined in the contract on page 2 the title of Assistant Chief for Building and Zoning, but we don't have that job title listed among the different classifications. So the Building and Zoning Inspector is an E. That's already in there. The Assistant Chief would be added in F. And then something that the employees talked about that I thought would be beneficial also. There were a number of places in the agreement that talked about a classification series. And a classification would be like a street worker 1, or a street worker 2. Those are classifications. Classification series then would be a series of street worker 1, 2, and 3. The previous contract did not define those maybe to the degree that we now have, as you would see on page 92 in Exhibit E. It spells out exactly what classifications are in each classification series. So those are the highlights of what the differences of in the ASME contract proposed compared to our current. In the fire contract, Article 11, which begins on page 24, there was something in here previously about credit union, and it just didn't apply anymore in the city, so we just struck that completely out. And we inserted a policy that has long been standing in the fire department, which is a no call-out policy. In essence, if a firefighter has a scheduled day off, they can block out the 2 days previous and the 2 days after, so that they would not be mandated for overtime. And when this came up in conversation, like I said, I understood the reason for the policy. Having kids, and we like to go on family vacation every now and then, if you were to go out of town, but you were subject to the possibility of being mandated for work, it would be impossible to take an out-of-town vacation. So again, this is a long-standing policy that has been in the fire department. It's now spelled out in the contract. Article 15 is something that there's a section 6 was inserted into this, which is on page, I think, 33. It's a catastrophic sick leave donation program. This is something that a number of other different municipalities have, and in fact, the firefighters that we sat down with provided us information from those contracts so that we could work to try to structure this. In essence, the way that it works is this. Let's say you're a firefighter and you have some sort of catastrophic injury that requires you to be off duty for a long time. Once you have gone through all of your sick time, vacation days, personal days, all your time off that you have, other firefighters would have the option, they could volunteer to donate a portion of their sick time hours to you. The employee who would be receiving those would have to be with the city for at least a year prior to the event which caused them to leave. Again, it's a voluntary thing. The other firefighters will not be required to do it. Each bargaining unit member would be able to donate up to 96 hours, but they must maintain a balance of at least 1,000 hours of their own. If we have somebody who's already short on sick time, we don't want them donating to somebody else. So they have to keep at least 1,000 hours. Again, this is something that the union would be aware of, the membership would have to volunteer to do, and it's also it requires my approval, or I'm sorry, the mayor's approval, in order for those hours to be donated. Article 22. Begins on page 47. The uniform allowance has been at $650 for quite a while. Article 22 stipulates an increase to $750 for the uniform allowance. Article 24, which is the insurance article in the firefighter agreement, stipulates, as it does in the ASME, caps on the insurance costs. Article 29, which is the wages table, begins on page 58. This agreement, a 3-year agreement, stipulates no pay increases for the 3 years of the agreement. 0, 0, 0 for the firefighters. And just a couple of other things at the end that I want to point out to you. I'm looking to see if you, I'm not sure if you have a copy of these or not. If you don't, please let me know and I'll get those to you. There are 2 MOUs as outlined in here. One being that any future legislation enacted by state government, provided it's not unlawful for us to do so, we would honor the contract that we have with them, with the firefighters. And the other MOU is talks about a part-time program, and that both sides will continue to negotiate in good faith toward the implementation of a part-time program, which, if agreed upon, could allow for additional hands in the department, while at the same time allowing for part-timers to be counted toward the minimum manning requirement. It's a complex thing to try to structure, as you can imagine. We weren't able to do so within the confines and timeframes of what we were looking at. But it is something that both sides are interested in. We are going to continue to talk about that. So those are the differences that in that. And if I omitted anything, I apologize. It was not on purpose. You know, I just want to again thank the members of both of these bargaining units for sitting down with me without their union representation there or attorneys. I found it to be, again, a very positive experience. I think talking to all of them, they agreed. There, I'm sure, are quite a few people, some of whom sitting up here, who knew that this was taking place, who were perhaps pessimistic that we would be able to be successful. In these 2 cases, with these 2 bargaining units, I think we were. I want to thank Doug for taking the time to sit in on these sessions with me. Your input was very helpful in both of these contracts and helping to give me perspective on things. So I want to thank you for taking the time to do that. It was very time consuming, as you can imagine, both the time that I spent talking to them and the time that I had it on my mind when I wasn't talking to them. But I felt that if we could help to save some dollars by not having our labor law attorney present and reach an agreement with them, that it would be worth the time invested. And I think that it was. So I would submit these for your review. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. I know that both ordinances are prepared, and can be read this evening. I would ask that council, when we meet next week, hold the second reading, and my hope would be that you would ratify both of these contracts. Doug, do you have anything that you want to add?
Mayor, first of all, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the members of council. You went to the council and asked if I could sit in on the negotiations, and through their foresight, they gave me that opportunity. And for some of you who wonder, why I would be, the mayor would ask me to sit in on that. I worked at Rockwell for 39 years. I was a member of the UAW, proud member, union blood, runs thick in me. I was a department steward. I was a chief steward on the midnight shift, and I served on the bargaining committee at Rockwell. And to say that I ever thought I'd be on this side, I never believed in my wildest dreams that I would ever be on the management side of it, but it gave me a clear input, I believe. It helped me to see some of the things that management was probably looking at when I dealt with them at Rockwell. I hope that I had some input that helped the mayor see some of the things that, and I could understand where the union guys were coming from. But I think I tried to take and be on that road that helped the management side of it. So to council and to especially the mayor, I just say thank you very much.
Mr. President, I think that's all I have.
Okay, I understood you to say, do we want to read them tonight, or?
The first reading.
Yes, if we could please have the first reading this evening. I know the ordinances have been prepared. If we could have the first reading this evening, and then,
All right, we'll start out with ordinance number 13, 2011.
Ordinance 13, 2011, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to execute and approve an amended collective bargaining agreement with AFSCME, Ohio Council 8, AFL-CIO, on behalf of the city of Heath for a period commencing April 2nd, 2011, and concluding April 1st, 2014, and declaring an emergency.
Okay, we will hold that to the second reading, and we'll move on to ordinance 14, 2011.
Ordinance 14, 2011, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to execute and approve an amended collective bargaining agreement with International Association of Firefighters Local 2930 on behalf of the city of Heath for a period commencing April 16th, 2011, and concluding April 15th, 2014, and declaring an emergency.
Okay, we do hold that 14 for the second reading. Time out just a second. Well, does anyone have any comments on the gun? Okay, if there are none, we'll move to have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. President of Council
hey,
and
please.
the Mayor,
Yes.
I would like to say that skipping over the whole, even letting us say anything was kind of disappointing to me.
I agree.
Um,
We didn't,
You didn't even offer to let anyone speak. I'm astounded. You didn't follow your own guidelines.
okay.
What's,
Is there someone that wants to come?
yeah, there were at least two of us that wanted to say something here.
Okay. So please come give your name and address.
So, sorry to interrupt, but
Hold on a second. Okay, so, do we need to restart the meeting?
I think so, well,
I make a motion that we,
Unanimously. I rescind my second.
okay.
I rescind my first.
Okay, send it, so we're still in session.
Mayor, coming back,
Yes.
Oh, that's fine.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I was trying to snag Butch there.
You only wait for Butcher.
He wasn't in the hallway, so he made it back.
Dave Ritchie, 631 Alpine Circle, Dayton, Ohio. I know this is a special meeting and not a normal council meeting. I certainly recognize that. I did want to thank the council members last week who did present their opinion on Prop 5 and also on what's going on in Wisconsin. And I guess I had it from Mr. Brumley that I wasn't talking about the Packers winning the Super Bowl or the fact we beat Ohio State twice. But I'll say that when I see them. Just a statement that I want to read, and I'll be brief. And this was made by one of our former state senators. When a guy runs for public office and their platform is, "I'll never ever raise your taxes," well, you've got to have a scapegoat. If some city council agrees on some outrageous salary increases they couldn't afford, shame on them. Both sides have to look out for their interests. I don't think they want to go back to the old days. My compliments to the mayor, who, it goes without saying, I have great respect for, and I think he's a bridge builder and a good communicator. That doesn't necessarily mean we agree on everything, and he'd be the first to tell you that. The one issue that I want to challenge in the contract and call to your attention, and I haven't been able to digest everything that was presented tonight, as well as you have. One is the longevity. It was Article 38. The longevity piece, and I don't know if that coincides with the new contract, but this is something that I pulled off prior to knowing about where the negotiations and bargaining has been in. But I believe it is still intact. After 5 years, an employee gets $800 as a reward for their loyalty and to continue to be employed by the city of Eaton, or me, because I pay that bill, okay? So there are our employees, because we all pay taxes. And it moves up to 30 years where they get $2,050. And it goes in increments. If you're not familiar with it, and I don't mean to say you're not, but it goes up $50 every year for being a loyal employee. If you made $30,000 a year and you got $800, that's a 2.67% increase that year. If you worked here 20 years and you moved up and you made $40,000, that's a 3.9 increase that year. And if you were at $50,000 at 30 years, I hope you'd be at least somewhere near there. That's a 4.1% increase that year, on top of whatever else is negotiated by your union, if you follow me. Correct me if I'm wrong. I worked for Sears for 39 years, and we didn't have this type of agreement. We had no union. After 35 years, I didn't quite make it to 40, so I didn't get we only got our recognition every 5 years. And I brought tonight to the meeting to demonstrate it, a little visual effect, if you will. What I got after 35 years, transferred my family, and I think we all know that that's really a lot of fun, to make it with that company. And I got this. I thought it was bigger until I looked at it tonight. But I got this after 35 years. I don't think it's worth over $2,000. It's plastic, okay? And that's what I got in the private sector.
There's a built-in raise with the current contracts, and we have to step back and look at of what we actually are giving our employees. I have no disrespect for our employees, but we have to draw this at some time, a line in the sand, and say, what are they actually getting? And I think this should be an issue for those running for office this year, of what, if a constituent said to you, what are they actually getting? And then let's look at these numbers. Now, I hope we have a lot of loyal employees that have been here, because if you were 26 years, you get $1,850. You don't get a paper weight, but that's what you get. That's not the real world. And I think we are being forced through Wisconsin, through Ohio and other states, because of budgetary problems, to look at what the real world is doing. And I don't like this, let's get to reality, the private, the public sector. We're all Americans, we all pay taxes, and something's gotta stop. So, I ask you to look at just that one aspect of it, with the percent of increase that they automatically get. That wasn't negotiated by the mayor. I'm not sure who did. But somewhere along the line, for perpetuity, this is gonna go on forever, relatively speaking. But these raises will go on top of whatever is negotiated. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else?
Wayne Goodwin, 1611 Hebron Road. Sorry I wanted to restart the meeting, but I think it's fair that we get at least an opportunity to speak. I've read the contracts. I've been through them all. I really just do not understand. And first of all, I'd like to commend you on not using lawyers. That's fantastic. Great step. I really like that. And I'd also like to say, I have nothing against the city employees. In fact, I know a whole lot of them, and I like them. It's nothing personal. But the one aspect in the ASME contract is when you're here a year, you get 2 weeks vacation. And that's pretty generous. But you get almost, 14.95 days of sick time. That's 3 weeks. Again, that wasn't renegotiated or anything, but that's 5 weeks after you work here a year. I guess it's sick time, but it's accumulative. I mean, that's like a separate little savings account. And in the private sector, I just can't, I'm self-employed and have been since 1982. If I don't work, I don't get paid. And to think, every 80 hours, if I got 4.6 hours of sick time, well, I'd take advantage of it. I could really enjoy that. And to switch from that to the firefighters, nothing got done with minimum manning, or I heard part-time, and I understand we used to have a large part-time force. We've got to increase heads of number of firefighters to cover these hours. Something's got to give here. $300,000 in overtime. In my eyes, that's at least 3 firefighters. And if you put 3 firefighters on the force, couldn't minimum manning or something be done? I'm no genius or anything, but this accumulative effect between being paid for longevity, being paid for sick time, you got 10 holidays, now you got 4 personal days. If you're here 5 years, you've got over 8 weeks off. That's 2 months. How could you do without employees for 2 months, Chris? Something's got to give, and it's no wonder the state's looking at busting the collective bargaining. Something's got to give. Thank you for listening to me, and really sorry to hold you up. Thank you for letting us speak.
Okay. Anyone else wants to speak?
lucky kid, 233 Indian Head Drive. I don't really have a lot to say, and I really don't envy y'all your job right now. It's not, like Wayne said, I respect all our employees, city employees, and I just wish times were such that we could just keep on what we've always done, but the reality is we can't. I was in Kentucky last week, and the little town I grew up in, and born and raised there, it's about the size of Heath. It's actually maybe just a little bit bigger. And we've got a big new convention center. We've got, it's a beautiful little town. We got a university there. The population at the university is every bit as much as the town itself. Now, the budget for that town is something like $6 million. The budget for that fire department, that furnishes not only for that town and Butler County, but they also do the university. The budget for that fire department is just over twice what our overtime was last year for our fire department. Now, I've got a copy of that budget, if anybody'd like to look at it. There's something they're doing that we're not. And I'm sure there's stuff that we're doing that they're not. And I'm not saying what we're doing is wrong, but I'm saying that there's different stuff going on in different places, and it's something we need to look at. That's all I had to say. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Any others? Okay, moving right along. Okay, have a motion to adjourn now.
Unless they want to speak.
Do any of you guys have anything you want to say? Okay, have a motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No move.